Hello and welcome back to Live from Paris. It's time now for Business News with Matthew Warren. Hello, Matthew.
Hello.
So this Monday, measures to improve the performance of the French economy are going to be presented to the government. All eyes on that.
That's right. This is all about competitiveness. Now, back in July, Louis Gallois was given the task of preparing a report on competitiveness. Now, Gallois, very well known here, used to run the state railway company SNCF and also EADS, the huge aviation company. He's talked of the need for a competitiveness shock for the French economy. Well, on Monday, he'll outline why that's required and what he's proposing.
Louis Gallois has stayed behind the scenes up until now. But the findings of the industrialist are being eagerly awaited by French business leaders, unions and politicians, all focused on halting the country's long slide in competitiveness. During the 90s, France exported more than it imported. But since the year 2000, the trend has been in reverse and the trade deficit's just getting deeper. Labour costs also weigh heavily on the economy. Sandwiched between Belgium and Luxembourg, wage costs here are the second highest in the Eurozone. Gallois is expected to suggest lightening the load on employers and also focusing more on innovation. Over the years, businesses here have been investing less money in research and development. Today, it's barely 2.3% of GDP compared to Germany's 2.8%. Business lobbyists say that things have got to change.
It would be an immense deception if Louis Gallois doesn't recommend that a significant competitiveness shock is quickly put in place.
But there's already skepticism that shock proposals will electrify the labour market anytime soon. Gallois is expected to suggest trying to reduce labour costs by hiking consumption taxes, and the socialist government's not keen on that idea. It will be presenting its response to the report on Tuesday.
Well, we heard about some of the measures expected in that report by Georgia. What else do we know?
Well, that's right. Now, as I said earlier, Gallois has talked of the need for a competitiveness shock. So Georgia mentioned in that report 30 billion euros perhaps off employers' charges that they pay, which is not going down very well in other parts of the country. He's also perhaps going to talk about strengthening industrial clusters, bringing together companies with shared expertise. That's worked well in the aviation sector, which he knows very well. Also, more support for exporters. There will be many more proposals as well. And then on Tuesday, we'll get a response from the government on what they plan to do. OK, well, we're going to move on now to a story about one French company that perhaps doesn't need any advice about competitiveness. They're doing well and they're keeping most of their production in France. Yes. Do you know the company Repetto?
I certainly do. I like their shoes.
Seems very popular. Yes, they are. Well, they're famous for ballet shoes originally, but they also make a wide range of women's shoes as well. As you say, they're doing quite well, and they are a company that's determined to keep its production here in France.
This is what Repetto's famous for: ballet shoes handmade for Paris opera dancers. But these days, the company makes its profits elsewhere. High-end ballet flats sold at around 160 euros a pair. Repetto has more than 450 models, most of them made here in the Périgord region of France. And the company is looking to the future, training a new generation of employees in-house. The company wants another 150 shoe and dress makers within 4 years. Many of the current trainees were previously unemployed, but they now have a full-time job in sight.
Nowadays, the luxury sector works well. There is high demand for luxurious products.
Repetto has increased its distribution around the world. It's also diversified its production with handbags, clothing, and perfume. They're not all made in France, but the firm's CEO believes the company's French legacy is good for business.
When you travel around the world, you realize that the most visible French brands are luxury brands. And manufacturing in France is necessary when you are a French luxury brand. The fact that we make many of our products in France opens many doors abroad.
Repetto is hoping to boost revenues by 20% this year, a green shoot in otherwise grim economic times.
Some beautiful shoes there, but we're going to move on now to Asia and some signs that the Chinese economy is picking up.
Yes, now last week we had data showing that in manufacturing, the slowdown may be bottoming out. Well, this Monday we're getting news as well about the services sector. Now, this is PMI data. Anything above 50 shows expansion. So as you can see here, October is up on September. That's pretty good news there.
Okay, and how are the markets looking on all that?
Well, that good news out of Asia wasn't actually enough to lift markets there. They all fell back this Monday. European markets have just opened, and it's a similar story in Europe as well. And I can tell you as well, we're getting some data out of Spain on unemployment. That is up again in October. It's now 4.83 million. The Madrid IBEX reflecting that, perhaps down 1.1%. Let me give you as well a piece of company news. Ryanair says that profits were up 10% in the first half of the year. That was down to higher prices and lower fuel costs. The Irish airline made almost 600 euros in profits. It's currently trying to get approval from the European Union for its proposed offer to take over its rival, Aer Lingus. There's some more company news around today as well, and Toyota saw its sales in China almost half in October. That's the result of a boycott following a territorial dispute between China and Japan. But it still managed to report profits. They've trebled in the latest quarter. The company's raised its full-year profit forecast to $9.7 billion, and the share price was up 2.2% today.
Well, bad news for two South Korean car manufacturers. Hyundai and Kia have exaggerated the fuel efficiency of cars sold in North America. That's the finding of the US Environmental Protection Agency. The companies have offered to compensate customers. Shares in both were down over 7%.
And more car news. One French company's turning back the clock with its latest launch. Renault is relaunching its Alpine sports model. It's a joint partnership with a British sports car manufacturer. The original was in production from 1986 to 95.
OK, well, we're going to go for an alpine ski theme now, because ski lovers have been getting the chance to buy their own cable car. Quite intriguing.
It is intriguing, isn't it? Vintage cable cars, these were. They were being sold in the Deux Alpes ski resort in France. There were 100 of these cable cars up for sale, getting around €1,000, all proceeds to charity. Now, why would anybody want a cable car?
I'm not quite sure where you put it.
Where would you put it? Well, let's hear from some of the buyers, shall we?
Many childhood memories, of course. Using those cable cars when I was a kid, it was really something. It was really nice, and I'm delighted to have one in my garden. And red, it's fabulous.
It's going to go in our living room. It's big. It used to be a factory. It'll go in there so that we can have coffee.
Well, I'm not sure I'll be snapping one up anytime soon. Thank you very much indeed, Matthew, for that look at today's business news. That's all from us for now. Thanks for joining us, and do stay tuned. There'll be more headlines with Claire Pride coming up right after the international weather next.